social innovation.
Right.
Sorry, if I may, could you explain the term of social innovation first so that everyone here?
Right. So social innovation has become sort of a buzzword within business schools and schools of policy and things of the sort. Fundamentally, it is the idea that we need to use innovation, new ways of solving problems. We need to come up with new ways of addressing the social and environmental and economic issues that our communities face. And that is beyond the confines of government, especially when you look at the African continent. If you're familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, which was passed in 2016 with 17 goals, a lot of them revolve around issues of poverty, clean water, and things of the sort. And so there is a belief that if we left that to the device of governments alone, it will be very difficult to be able to find solutions to these very thorny issues that the 21st century is facing. And so local people being able to come up with ideas, like for instance, in your community, if there's a prevailing issue around healthcare or education, how do you as an individual within the community begin to iterate about how to actually respond to these issues? So innovation that actually is tailored to solving social problems.
Okay. And the follow-up to that was, how did you gain your passion for social innovation?
My passion for social innovation? I think fundamentally because I've been myself exposed to one difficulty or another. My passion for this stems from that because I've always wanted to, as I talked about earlier, the compassion for the people who go through some of these difficulties is, I would say, that sort of the instigator was pushed me to think about, begin to iterate about how to respond to some of these issues using entrepreneurship, but with a social mission. So if you juxtapose that with your quintessential business entrepreneurship, the focus is mainly on making money, where social entrepreneurship is about solving social issues. Don't get me wrong, I mean, you can make some money doing that, but the goal at the outset is not to make money, it's not to respond to some of the prevailing issues that these communities face.
You talked a bit about your relationship with your father and explained him as a hero of yours. And my question to that basically is, how did he become your more than a father and more so a mentor to you also?
How did my father become a mentor?
Yes.
I guess I would suppose that it goes without saying, right? Your father will be looking out for you. But my father, I must say, the gentleman over here knows him, is a very wise man, a man who believed in the power of education, not only for his children, but he's always been someone within the community who would take it upon himself to push other parents. There's been situations where I would see my father criticize or even chastise other people who weren't responsible when they have children. So he believed in growth, and I think he had something on his door that said future is unknown. And he's always used that as sort of an instigator to push you to aspire to greater things and to leverage that when you do to help and solve social problems, be that in your community, in your country, or in the world.
Okay. So during your Harvard introduction, you talked about changing the narrative of a community. And my question to that is, how does one begin to, I guess, come up with the idea of, I'm going to be the one to change the narrative of my community?
Well, I've always believed that emotions are very important, and actually coming to grips with the fact that you need to respond. And so I would usually, whatever bothers you is an opportunity for leadership. So if something makes you angry, it's important that you try to channel that energy in a positive way to see how you can respond. So say for instance, in your community, you see children who are dropping out of school and it bothers you. Instead of waiting for external forces, be that city council or the state or politicians to respond, you could as well come up with something and say, okay, I want to come up with a program, an after-school program to take care of these children. So basically, leveraging your energy. You know, when I was in Japan, we talked about this. What makes you happy? What makes you happy also provide nuggets of wisdom or action, or whatever also like makes also that. So striking the delicate balance between the two allows you to be able to not only just wait, but like be an agent of change and respond and come up with something.
And to further expand on that, how does knowing what you represent affect your drive?
As in my community and
Yes.
the world.
You're like, I guess, looking back on where you come from.
Right.
How does that affect your drive?
Right, that's a good question. I think from a very young age, I've always seen any opportunity that I have, that's not only a reflection on me, but also on my community, my family, the country, and my world. In the sense that even at Harvard, I approach everything with a degree of seriousness because I believe that my being there is not just for me. So if I go there and I don't do well, then next time someone's like looking at applications and sees a kid from Ghana or from my community, I don't know how that will reflect on that person. So that provides me the extra oomph to make sure that every single opportunity that I have, I'm not just thinking about myself, but how does this affect my community, my world, my country?
Okay. This one here. How do you make coming from less I guess, I don't word this really well. How do you make it something that pushes you rather than a holdback? Because oftentimes, people will use their hardships as an excuse. And here you spoke a lot on resilience. Can you kind of unfold that for a bit?
How hardship actually helps you
Yeah, rather than being a setback.
Right. No, of course, don't get me wrong. I mean, pain is not fun. Difficulty is not fun. But in the process, it allows you to develop that imperviousness, that toughness. So I remember when I was growing up in Yeji, in rural Ghana without electricity, moments where we would have things like Coca-Cola or even rice for like, Easter and Christmas and all of that. So when I moved to the US, I never really complained about anything because for me, I would always try to compare that to where I come from. And so those kinds of communities that a person grows up in help you develop that thick skin that's in the future when you do go through difficulties. I mean, of course, I still do now, but I've always told myself, sort of look at it from a growth mindset, like this is an opportunity to push myself harder. There was a likelihood that I would overcome it because I've done that so many times. So it becomes sort of a mantra that in the event of the most dire situations, there's a belief that I will emerge out of that triumphant, which sometimes can be a fantasy. But it's important to have that than be completely mired in despair and hopelessness.
Aside from your father, did you have any other mentors that played a big role in getting you to where you are today?
Without a doubt. When I was in secondary school, there was high school in Ghana. There was a teacher from Nigeria. So even though we didn't have a lot of teachers, he volunteered in many ways to teach so many of the subjects, from social studies to economics, to geography, to mathematics. So this individual was very instrumental in kind of drumming home the importance of hard work. And that sometimes it's not so much where you see yourself, but your ability to respond and be determined and push hard and work hard is very central to elevating you from the doldrums of absolute poverty to where I am now. And I think my story is not meant so much to make it seem as if my being a Harvard is any different or makes me any better than anyone. The most important thing for me is more resilience. So it's more sort of something that captures the essence, the complexity of using difficult situations as a conduit, as sort of a lever to greatness. So you don't have to go to Harvard, you don't have to go to Yale, but it could be that depending on what kind of community you grow up in, if there are difficulties, you actually rise to the occasion and say, maybe I can do something about this. So fundamentally, that's just the way I see it. I'm not a big fan of sort of the ivory tower perspective. And there's also, I'll say, a tendency, even when I was in Ghana, for people to associate a degree of prestige with the institution. And so that sort of cascades into how people treat you. But for some of us who come from very dire circumstances, there's more a place that sort of offsets or sort of subverts the narrative about difficulty and adversity and turning that into opportunity. So basically, that's just the way I would slice it.
In your, I guess, description, it talks about your passion for the most daunting social, economic, and environmental challenges today. Could you explain to us some of what you consider the most daunting?
Right. So a lot of my work is in sort of the global south, Africa being the most prominent. And when you look at the projections right now, even though Africa is the least contributor to greenhouse gases, it's going to be the most affected by the effects of climate change. And that certainly has implications for food security, for mass migration, and things of this sort. So these are issues that are very pertinent to the African continent. And so these are some of the things that I've been passionate about. So a lot of my research, or a lot of the communities that I've been involved in, have been around how do we begin to think and iterate about solving these issues, and not leaving them mainly to the device of government, and mostly from the standpoint of entrepreneurship. So that's one of the things that I've been very passionate about. The second one, I'll say, is youth unemployment. Africa is set to have over 1.3 billion young people by the turn of the century. And when you think about that in the grand scheme of things and the implications for mass migration, young people without jobs, that's scary, So that has also been a major area that I've actually sort of concentrated my research on. And as I did mention, we're rolling out a kind of incubator in Ghana to see the degree to which we can use entrepreneurship as a lever to begin to respond to this major issue, which has been described fundamentally as a time bomb that's actually waiting to explode.
And so basically, education kind of is where that ultimately leads to. And that'll take me to my question about your startup is Ed Acme. Your startup is to help the accessibility gap in tertiary education, so college and things of that sort.
Right.
What does that startup mean to you, and how you began to grow that?
Right. So it started from a kind of pro bono advisory standpoint. We were looking to, especially in my father's community, looking to help a lot of these young people that were applying to universities all over the world. So we would guide them in the application process, mentor them, try to find resources that could help them get to school, not only in the United States, but also in England. And oftentimes, one of the things that I've always said is that a lot of people are actually very capable. What they don't have is faith. So I've been able to get some students into Stanford, Columbia University, and also University of Cambridge. And at the outset, they didn't actually believe that they could do that. So to be the mirror, to be able to let them know that this is possible, with the right guidance. So that's how we started, and then it grew into something very big. But more recently, something I call the Nabwa, I'm sure the gentleman from Ghana would understand that. It's more a kind of practice around which farmers would actually go and support each other. So we're trying to slice it from the standpoint of the problems of the community in the world being our problem as a people. And so how do we begin to iterate and begin to instigate these? So Nabwa is pretty much a subset of this anatomy, which we're going to be rolling out. I have a partner from Spain in hopefully the summer of 2019.
mentioned a few of the universities you've helped get students into, such as Stanford, Cambridge, and Columbia also. Is there ever like a sense of intimidation once they get to that point? Like, they get there and it's like, oh, I don't feel as though I belong here. I don't know how I'm gonna do. Is there ever that?
From the student standpoint?
Yes.
I don't have enough data to be able to comment on that. I can speak from my own experience. Because I've had the opportunity to be in some of these environments, and I think that's you would think that at a place like that, almost everyone has something they're worried about. Something called the imposter syndrome, where you have a lot of students on Ivy League campuses actually believing that they don't deserve to be there, or they need to prove something. And I think for me, one of the things that has always given me the resilience is that growth mindset, the ability to see my being there, or even if I do go through one difficulty or another, is more of an opportunity to grow as opposed to impress someone. So, and because I draw inspiration more from an external source, which is God, I fundamentally do not I have nothing to prove, basically, because I'm there because of the grace of God. Like, if you were to juxtapose now with where I've come from, there is no way that I could be there. So, in the most difficult situations, I leave it up to the Father in heaven, basically. So, He, I would say, is a source of giving me the resilience, the ability to be impervious to the kind of the stimuli of the environment.
You mentioned forgiveness and resilience as fundamental characteristics of adversity. And how important do you feel it is for people to share their stories of adversities?
Yeah, I think it's important for narrative. Narrative is very important to creating a kind of commonality and seeing that one person or the other has gone through similar situations. Because I think the danger, especially some of the young people that I've dealt with in Ghana, is that they have a tendency to put you on a pedestal until they actually know that you too have been through difficulty. And so if they can find that kind of commonality between your story and theirs, is very important. I think those of us who've had the opportunity to be here, be anywhere, I think it's important that our narratives, we tell our narratives so that we can move these young people to action. Because being able to get sort of the tactile experience of you, I think is much different than, say, seeing Corner West on TV or Henry Louis Gates and saying that this is a person from the African American community. So it's important that whichever population you want to serve, you need to be with them. They need to hear your story so that they can draw from that.
And my last question for you. In your introduction, James talked a lot about how much you did just last year, 2018. For many students, they feel as though they get to a point where they're in a stale part of their life. They're not really doing much. It's just going to classes, getting grades, and that's it. What advice would you give for people who are in a stale position in life?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what you want out of your education. One thing that I've always known is that your ability to do well beyond sort of the confines of the university transcends its grades. And there are very important skills that you can develop by involving yourself in extracurriculars, leadership positions. Being able to communicate with people is very vital. And I think at a place like this, that brings people from all walks of life, gentlemen from Ghana, people that are of Latino descent, or you're African American. It allows for an opportunity for intercultural communication. And I think in a contemporary world where you have people crisscrossing, countries and globes and things of the sort, that skill will come in handy. And leadership goes beyond school. So being able to develop those kinds of skills when you go into the workplace is very important. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been involved in those kinds of activities, because it also allows me to leverage my energies and to make sure that I'm doing things that are very dear to my heart, serving the community and things along those lines.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
For those that are here, we're gonna